Golden Spiral Media presents The Blacklist Exposed.
Hey Aaron, let's do this, but don't make a scene in front of the boy. Welcome to The Blacklist Exposed. I am Agent Troy Heinrichs.
And I am Agent Aaron Peterson, and I'm going to make sure when we hear sirens, you stop staring and get in the flipping car. Thanks for joining us this week as we discuss number 72 in the Blacklist, Eli Matchett, which aired October 15th, 2015. It was written by J.R. Orsi and Lucas Ryder. It was also directed by Stephen A. Adelson. Show notes and other intel for this episode of The Blacklist Exposed can be found at theblacklistexposed.com. A quick reminder, if you have not done so already, you can now take our show on the go with the Blacklist Exposed app for iOS and Android. That way, if you're on the run like Liz and Red, you can still get all the intel and analysis you desire. Just be careful, you might end up in Iowa. Search for the Blacklist Exposed in the iOS App Store or on Google Play.
Yeah, there's worse places to be, man. That's the birthplace of Captain Kirk.
Yeah, well, we'll agree to disagree on that, Chief, because you know what? I've been to Iowa a lot. You know what's there? Corn.
Corn.
Mm-hmm. Corn. That's
straight roads. Lots of straight roads.
That's it. That's it.
We asked you last week to answer our profiling question of the week, which was, what does the phrase, I see my way home, mean to you? I tried to do it in my Aaron impression there. Mm-hmm. And again, there were a ton of responses to this question because we knew it was a pivotal scene, been discussed quite a bit on the interwebs. And so if we paraphrase some of these answers, it's just to get everybody a chance to speak up.
Man, I love how impassioned people are about this, too. Like, it means they're together. It doesn't. It means they're father-daughter. It means they're uncle. Yeah, man, everybody has an answer. Jess said, I think it is a metaphor like the fish in the cave. Liz is the light at the end of the tunnel. Red's way out of the dark. I like that one. John said, and you want me to just bullet through these, right?
Yeah.
Okay. John said, Liz is the star that guides Red back to his previous life before it all went bad. She's the door to the past. Terry said, Red has been lost at sea for so long and gotten lonely, and now with Liz, he finally feels like he belongs because home is where the heart is. I'm not sure which way you're meaning that. Rory said, Red was probably set up by the Cabal for knowing about the Fulcrum, so somehow Lizzie is a way for Red to get Red, quote-unquote, redemption. Oh, and once he does, he will be free. Laura, Rita, Tommy agree with Rory. I can't believe I missed that. Redemption. Ha ha. Desiree said, Red was lost when he lost his family, and Liz reminds him of a happy place. Bill said, Red is looking at Lizzie to be his heir apparent. That way he can go home. Liz said, wait, like Liz, or?
No, just like a person named Liz.
Different Liz.
A different Liz.
I didn't know if like Liz King was actually writing the show. That would be surreal.
That would be real.
Liz is a constant reminder of Red what a perfect life could be, and she reminds him of that life he had before his family was taken from him. Livy said, Liz is Red at an earlier time in Red's life. She is his last lifeboat to reaching normalcy one day. Susan says, they need each other so that they can both be exonerated. Ami says he sees in Liz what he could have had if his family hadn't been torn apart. Carl said, when someone wants to get home, they will do anything necessary to make that happen, so Red will use Liz to whatever degree is necessary. Man, Carl went dark.
Yeah, that was some of the early things that we were talking about, though. Like, would he actually backstab Lizzie, and is he just using her the whole time? So I like that Carl is still thinking this isn't all just peas and carrots.
Carl's looking at everybody's box and saying, I'm not inside your box. I'm out here. I'm on the left.
I don't want to be in that shipping container. It smells like sardines.
That's right. Teddy said, I imagine it means he will be able to accomplish something good, or that the, quote-unquote, the experiment worked and he proved it.
That's out of the box, too. What does that mean?
What's the experiment? Teddy, I want to hear more. What is the experiment? Is Liz the experiment? Let's see. Bo said it means you found the most relaxed, comfortable state, safe, happy, a way to be yourself in the world. I can see that. A way to, like a perfect calm, I guess. Glenn Carroll said, Red sees the best of his past, present, and future when Liz is there. Valerie said, it's tied to the ugly fish story. That's the second fish reference. Would I recognize the light? Would I see it? Liz is that light. And Deb said, you like that? I put a little emphasis on it. And Deb said, when he sees Lizzie doing things he couldn't do, it is like making things right, getting things back to before things went so wrong. I just want to, that's the last one. Thanks, guys. I appreciate all those. I just want to say the consensus it seems to be a positive thing. It seems only a couple people saw that maybe this is nefarious in some way.
Yeah, and I wonder, you have to look at it from two angles, right? It could be that he wants to do what's right in her eyes, but is what's right in her eyes, not necessarily right from her point of view, right? So it could go both ways. Maybe it is to double cross her at the end of the day, but double crossing her actually saves her.
It could be. I just want to point out that I think they've got you and us included, on the bandwagon that this is a positive thing, that Red is looking out for Liz. But people forget, this is still Red Reddington. He did do some nefarious things, some ominous things to Liz directly. So maybe it's not as positive as people think. Just saying.
Of course not. I'm a criminal.
You do not do that laugh good at all.
No, I don't.
You do not scare me at all.
It's also early.
It is early.
Remember to answer the profiling question of the week. Head over to the blacklistexposed.com and use our send a voice message button. Super easy, so that way Aaron doesn't have to read all of that so early in the morning. Let us hear from you. Or if you want to, you can go ahead and head over to the Facebook group. Just search for the Blacklist Exposed and join us for the fun over there. Take it away, Mr. Aaron.
All right, with that, next week's profiling question is, this is an honest question from me, and let me explain why, because Liz shot a cop. She killed the Attorney General. So the question is, has Liz passed the point of redemption?
Of redemption?
Man, I wish I would have thought of that. No, twice I wish I would have thought of that.
Oh, that's funny.
Has Liz passed the point of redemption?
That's a great conversation to have at the end of the episode, but we'll get into that and more as we drive down a straight road through some cornfields as we break down this week's case profile.
All right, this episode of The Blacklist starts off with Walter White detasseling corn in the X-Files field. Wait, my bad. Wrong show.
I'm so glad you picked up on that because I was like, yeah, X-Files the movie.
It so was, man.
And Fringe. It's all in one thing. This is the best episode ever.
It was. There's a lot of connections. And in fact, Red and Liz did a lot of Mulder and Scully in this episode. And so did Ressler and Samar. So, I mean, everybody's loving X-Files. That's what I'm guessing.
Hey, don't forget, it's also the birthplace of Captain Kirk, and they're working on the Genesis project.
Yeah. Did you catch that? That's got to be a Star Trek reference.
Oh, it was totally a Star Trek reference.
Gotta be. As soon as I heard Genesis, I'm like, did they do that on purpose?
In Iowa?
Wow.
I get it.
I hope they stumble across Spock's body or something. That would be fantastic. We've got a group of bandidos known as Los Sagadores. I hope I said that right. I'm not Spanish. My wife is. I should go ask her. That take out some agriculturalists, which is really sad. I mean, couldn't you just tie these guys up? I mean, they're not really doing anything.
And shoot the guy in the back. That's not cool.
Yeah, because criminals, they always want to give you a chance. Go ahead, turn around, draw on me.
We gave the third guy a chance. He's like, no, don't. And then he shoots him.
He did. He should have just lunged. Why don't people ever just run or lunge at the person when they pull a gun on them? Just be a hero. Go ahead.
At first, yeah, I thought that the guy was like, no, don't shoot me. I thought he was going to do like the whole, butt of the gun and knock him out so that there'd be a witness. Mm-hmm. Because if it's like an evil, dastardly plan to ruin the world, you always have to have the witness to go tell somebody about your evil, dastardly plan to rule the world.
This is true. And you need a mustache because you got to twirl it. You don't get that?
I do.
All right.
But you told me my laugh doesn't actually work to impress criminals, so I wasn't going to do the Snively Whiplash laugh for you.
Way to get awkward.
You squashed my creativity.
Way to make it weird, Troy. All right, well, thankfully, I guess, I don't know. Anyway, they infiltrate and take over Verdiant Industries. And, Troy, why don't you explain exactly what Verdiant does?
I guess they make modified feed and corn seed for the entire world, apparently, because that is why they're targeting this one particular industry. They literally sell the modified versions of the corn in order to make money, because that's what, GMOs do in our day and age. But they think that they might be looking at a different angle as they try to come up with a new bumper crop, we'll call it.
Well, thankfully and extremely conveniently, Red and Liz abandon their plans for Spain and detour to the headquarters of Verdiant, which is Iowa. I want to touch on this just a little bit real quick. Last week, we were absolutely certain that they were going afar. They were going to a land afar. We didn't know which country they were going to or whatever. And then we come back this week and end up in Iowa. Were you at all disappointed? Because I sure was.
A little bit. I thought that maybe they would at least make one stopover somewhere, maybe like Crete or Cyprus or, Monte Carlo, something, just to like have some fun before they actually went on offense, as Red put it. But yeah, to come back and then to be in Iowa of all places, the center of the U.S. Weird, right? But I think that's the way that you were questioning how do they keep the FBI involved because it stops at the waters.
That's true. That's
boom,
true.
There you go. Now they're back involved.
That's true. I was looking forward to like some exotic locales. So maybe we'll still get there, but I was really looking forward to some exotic locales.
Hey, Daniel said Staten Island has to be the set for everything there in New York. So I don't know how exotic you can make Staten Island look.
I want to know if they were shooting in New York, where did they find Iowa locales?
It had to have been Staten Island. That's where they said they go to do everything.
Is
Desert,
there corn
grass,
there?
Trees.
Is there corn there?
You could find one farmer that's got some corn probably out there, especially when they were shooting this time of year. I mean, you figure this stuff was filmed, probably middle of the summer.
The one guy, and somebody's going to write in and be like, there's hundreds of cornfields out there, you idiots. But I would not expect it. I really wouldn't in New York. But all right, that's cool. I was bummed, though. I was really looking forward to some maybe some Casino Royale kind of action.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what I was thinking of.
Well, Gabriel Costa leads everyone to Eli Matchett, who has created a weaponized virus that he will plant via seed. And imagine you can hold in one hand everything you need to bring humanity to its knees. Was that that was very Bondian. So I guess I did get my Casino Royale.
Kind of.
What do you think about this plan? Let's talk about this plan a little bit.
This was really interesting because the first time I watched it, I was like, okay, they're going to release a virus. It's going to wipe out the population. And then I watched it a second time and I was like, okay, I totally missed that. They're not going to wipe out the population. They're actually going to infect the food supply because if you take out all this corn, not only are you taking out the corn, but you're taking out the feed and the seed that goes for the cattle and everything that goes into, the dairy, so that's milk and cheese and butter, and literally it becomes this world crisis food shortage. I think it's absolutely brilliant idea.
It's evil is what it is. I'm going to punish the entire world and then I'm going to save it.
Because you've seen this before in other shows where they come in and they're like, oh, let's go ahead and release this, we even had it in the Blacklist, right? There was that 800,000-year-old Black Plague virus that we're going to release on the world and kill humanity. And Blind Spot had a virus issue earlier this week on their episode too. And this was different. This was let's not release the virus on the people. Let's release the virus on the things they eat.
Yep.
And then restrain what they eat. So it's literally a world of hunger and depression. And literally, and that will actually, then the humans start killing each other, kind of Walking Dead-like, I guess.
Yeah, and I will say that I did like that because that twist, when it was first coming up, I mean, you can see it coming a mile away when the guy's designing it in the lab. And you're just sitting there going, we're going to do the virus thing again? And then they found a new twist on it, which I always respect. If you can take a cliche and at least jazz it up some, I can respect that. It's when people, shows do it so lazy where it's the same, virus is going to kill all the people in the world. We've had that. This is a different way to do it, and I respect that. So it didn't bother me at all. Once I saw the plan, I'm like, all right, I can get behind that. That's a cool twist. Makes me not want to eat, though. So
it was kind of similar to what they did on, if you ever saw the show Helix on Sci-Fi.
Nobody saw it. That's why it's gone.
Well, season 2 did kind of the same concept, except they were doing it in a kind of like a mason jar honey syrup kind of thing, which I thought was kind of interesting. And the head guy in season 2 actually kind of looked like Eli Matchett this week. I had to do a double take. I was like, wait, are they using the same guy for the same story? That's kind of weird.
Well, the actor playing
different actor.
The guy playing Eli Matchett, he's been quote unquote the bad guy in a lot of shows. So he's definitely a working actor. Can I just say how disappointed I am that radicals like Eli sell out these days? I mean, you remember like back in the day when you were a radical, Black Panthers and that sort of thing? I mean, you were standing for something and you stood by it. Now they take the check.
Money's money. Got to keep the radicalness going, I guess. You got to fund it somehow.
It's very disappointing. I really was hoping on my anarchy to get me through. And they're sellouts just like everybody else. Everybody's available for a price, man. It's very disappointing. Susan Hanover, speaking of sellouts, is the CTO. And for people that aren't aware, that's the Chief Technology Officer. I actually had people instant messaging me, what does a CTO mean? That's what it means. Chief Technology Officer. Which
is different than the CIO, which is the Chief Information Officer, because people confuse those sometimes. Like one's an IT guy and one's not necessarily an IT person, right?
Correct.
In this case, technology could be anything, not just information systems.
Correct. And the lady in charge, Mrs. Hanover, or Miss Hanover, I guess we didn't really get that distinction. I didn't look for a ring. But she is behind this master plan to create salvation to a global crisis by creating the global crisis herself and the Genesis Project. My question is, whenever you have these giant plans, isn't it always called the Genesis Project?
Not necessarily. I don't think you've seen the Genesis Project used that often in television and movies.
I've seen it many times. I wish I had a tally. Does somebody have a tally of that? Does Google have a tally somewhere? I'm sure they do. Well, Red uses her to deliver the message to the director right in front of her own son. Tell him I'm coming. So this entire plan of his, and we're going to get to characters in a moment, but his entire plan was to go to Iowa and attack Verdiant Industries, which thankfully they had this thing going on, so he had perfect leverage to attack them. But the whole reason for him going there was to get some leverage so that he could force the Cabal to clear Liz. Do you believe that's his true intention?
I knew you were going to ask me that.
Well, then you should have thought of it.
I know. So the challenge I have here is that how much leverage is this really? Mm-hmm. I mean, sure, money is power, but how much money would they have really gotten from this to fund the Cabal for a long period of time? I think that's really the thing that I'm trying to stretch with. You took down one of my operations, big deal. I got 7,000 operations if I'm the Cabal. Mm-hmm. So is this really something that's going to move the needle to exonerate Liz at the end of the day? And I think the better question is why does Liz need to be exonerated? What purpose or good does it have to have Liz back in the FBI on the task force versus where he has Liz now? Because I guess that's the thing I'm still trying to piece together is it better to have her there or here?
Well, and I guess my question is, I think we just jump on board the assumption that he's doing all this to clear her name. Is that really what the ultimate goal is? Do you really think that's what the ultimate goal is? Is it to clear Liz's name? Is it to get her name free so she can go on about her living her life? Or is there something else? Does Red have something else in mind?
That's a good point. Yeah, I think that maybe it like we've always said, it's about moving chess pieces on the board.
Right.
So maybe this is in order for the next phase of the plan to happen, Liz has to be back in the FBI because he needs those resources for Plan D that's coming down the pipe in season 5.
Yeah, see, here's my thing, because, I almost feel like fans have completely forgotten who Red Reddington is to a degree when I'm talking to him, because everybody I see him talk to is jumping, he's doing all this for Liz, I'm like, the first 2 seasons of the show, that was not the case. I mean, yes, Liz is a factor, but he has his own game in play too. It isn't just about Liz, and there's very few things that happen that weren't related back to him in some degree. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because if you say, I'm doing this for Liz, let's go ahead and take Tom, for example. So Red could say, I'm doing this for Liz because I'm trying to set Zumani against Tom. I'm trying to take Tom out of the picture by framing him for this shooting at Angel Station back in season 1. Mm-hmm. But that's Red's perspective on what's best for Liz. For Liz, it might not be the perspective of it's good for me. I was happy with my husband. I was happy with the job that I liked. I was a good person. So for Liz, maybe Red's not doing what's best for Liz because only Liz knows what's best for her. Exactly.
That's what I'm wondering. I'm just wanting to know what is really the end game. And I think we're not going to know until like the end of the season, or at least the end of the fall finale kind of thing. There's more at play here. I am of the opinion that, yeah, he's probably trying to clear Liz's name to a degree, but there is much more involved than just that to me. I just firmly believe that. I might be wrong, and then I'll just feel like a fool later, but that's the way I see it.
Later?
Shut up. Nobody loves you. So what did you think of this plot before we get into the characters? What did you think of this episode?
Episode standalone by itself, I thought it was a great throwback to season 1. Mm-hmm. Definitely a case of the week kind of thing. Added a little bit to the overall story. So solid 7, I would say. It was. I like the twist on the take out the food supply rather than actually kill the humans directly. I thought that was a nice twist. I like the whole working the different angles. So Red's working the angle on this case from a Cabal perspective, and then the FBI is working it from just a regular FBI perspective, just trying to figure out what the heck's going on. And yet the two are still kind of working together, but not in the same context as season 1 and season 2. So we have the season 3 play, but it still felt like a season 1 episode.
Mm-hmm.
So I felt a little bit like it was a step backward, but maybe we needed that to set up something bigger. So like I said, I don't judge until the end of either the fall or the whole season. But this seemed to me like one of the filler episodes.
Yeah, it definitely felt like a like a filler episode, and you're always going to get that when you have 22 episodes. And that's not to say that it was a good episode. I enjoyed it. I thought there's a lot of, like you said, pieces at play here. It just wasn't. I mean, when you're coming off a 2-episode high that was just nonstop, at some point you're going to have to slow down a little bit just to get the pieces back in, more pieces into play for the rest of the season, which I think is what we're seeing.
Yeah, the whole setup with Glenn and the network and having all those, all of his people, like literally his entire, except for Mr. Kaplan, is in this one episode.
I love Glenn.
I was waiting for Mr. Kaplan to show up at the end.
Oh, I just love Glenn. Glenn, get your own show, man. I just want him to talk about check your shorts and safety and all the other just crazy one-liners where I'm like, what? Did he just say that? I love when characters have that. All right, well, speaking of, let's get into characters. Aram, he didn't really do a whole lot. And, people that have never listened before, we always break down the basic episode plot, and then we break down the characters and where their subplots are. Aram didn't really do a whole lot. Pieced together the cargo container and Hanover a little bit. But outside of that, his story didn't really go anywhere this episode.
I kind of liked it, though, because Ressler walks in and Ram's like, dude, you don't got to tell me what to do. I already did all this stuff. Here's where it is. Here's where the shipping container went. And here's what happened. Here's how they got out. It's like, don't talk to me, dude. I got this.
Yep, I got this. Back down, yo. Now, Samar, would you say she's officially Ressler's partner now? I mean, his Skelly, right?
Which is really interesting because you thought in those first, especially the first episode of the season, like they were going to be butting heads the entire season. Mm-hmm. And now it really seems like they are on the same page, even though she doesn't trust his instincts. So I'm curious how their relationship's going to keep unfolding as it goes along.
But that brings me to a question. What happened to her allegiance with Red?
That's the one thing that it was like, okay, I'm going to get you into the task force. She's in the task force at the, third or fourth episode of season 2. And like, it never gets brought up again.
Mm-hmm.
That's the one thing that if we get John to be on the podcast, I want to ask him. I was literally like, what happened to, this is a Red's plant from the inside. And she was like, I think supposed to spy on Liz for the most of season 2. And then it just didn't seem like it was happening. So I wonder if they're going to go back to that or if that's one of those that was just kind of dropped.
Well, see, that question led me to this question, okay? There is, at the very end of the episode, and I did love her little moment when Ressler and Eli are fighting, and it just seems like nobody's going to win, and she finally pulls her gun on Eli, and he's like, you boys about finished? That was a great moment for
that was awesome
for Samar. But at the very end, she's interrogating Hanover, right? And it's it's a musical interlude, it's a mishmash, it's whatever you call it, and a montage, and you've got their conversation isn't there. You don't hear anything, but there's definitely some looks like maybe we should be looking more at this, or am I being paranoid?
I mean, now that you say that, and I'm saying, oh yeah, you play the musical interlude specifically so we can't hear the conversation. So is she getting information out of Hanover or delivering more information to send to the director? Or making sure that she followed through with her task, so that she could report back to Red. I mean, yeah, you could absolutely think all of that is going on in that 3 to 4 seconds that flashes on the screen. So I guess now that you mention it that way, I'd have to agree with you. So no, you're not paranoid. Otherwise, I'd be paranoid.
Yeah, I think there's something at play here. I could be totally wrong, but if I watched that, I rewound it and watched it a couple times, and I'm just like, man, I don't know. There's something about that moment that I think we're supposed to be paying more attention to than we are. And
I get, maybe that's the weird thing. Have we gotten to a point in our television viewing habits as fans that everything needs to be scrutinized, or can you take anything just at face value anymore?
I sure can't. Not with this show. I don't take anything at face value. I'm paying attention. But
and then Bokenkamp and Eisendrath are just sitting in their, palace in L.A. going, wah.
Oh, definitely.
We got them thinking again. This is great.
As they stroke their giant white cat.
Their giant mustaches, yeah.
Mustaches and white cats.
And white cats.
That's what I picture. But just something to think about. And I have gotten several emails and messages, asking why I personally have not made lewd comments about Samar and her revealing outfits yet this season. They've kept her pretty buttoned up, I would say. I mean, she looks more like an FBI agent, which is really disappointing. But trust me, guys, I'm still thinking those lewd thoughts. So you're welcome.
Anywhere around the corner, Red could be there. So they've been wearing the bulletproof vests for most of their season so far.
Very disappointing to me. Very disappointing. She's an attractive woman. Mr. Solomon is still beating up on Dembe. That's really what his job is, apparently, at this point, just beating the smack out of poor Dembe.
But the reason why I love Solomon is he is totally the Red counterpart, opposite. I don't know what you want to call it. Because the best part is when he goes and pulls out a handkerchief and lays it on the ground so that he doesn't get his pants dirty. That was awesome.
To be fair, I would have done the same thing. That was a dirty, dirty floor. Just gross. And once again, I want to point out that I would have turned on you so quick, it would have made your head spin. Seriously. Because I don't understand. Whenever I see stuff like that in shows, I'm like, why are they holding out? I would rat you out like, no, I don't want to get hurt. Ow. That's going to sting.
They still got you. You're going to get hurt either way.
You know what? It'll be done quicker. Just take me out, man. I don't want to. Yeah. What do you need to know? Here's Troy's address. Here's all of his secrets. Here's everything I know about him. Here's where he's going to be next Friday. Go ahead. That's what I'd do. Well, he doesn't break. Dembe doesn't break because he's a man. He's a man, baby. Yeah. He's tortured, and he leaves us with the knowledge that the Cabal has Mr. Vargas. That is the big twist at the very end of the show, is that Mr. Vargas is the person being tortured in the other room, which I thought, like you, was going to be Kaplan, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that's who I thought it was going to be. But it was Vargas. So do you think Vargas is enough of a bargaining chip to make Dembe talk?
Oh, hell no.
Well,
no,
why is he in the mix then?
I think they think that it's their compadres. You know, the Cabal is still trying to figure out Red's network. So I think as they find somebody, they're just, doing what they can. It's like, oh, this is another one of Red's friends. So Dembe will help one of Red's friends. Because I don't think they know who all of Red's, network is yet. I think they're trying to piece that together. They probably have some ideas. They're the Cabal. They can probably figure it out. The bigger question I have is, being a television watcher like we are, that whenever you torture somebody in another room off camera,
yep,
they are not they're on the team of the people being tortured.
That's right. Pee-wee is bad.
Well, he's a squealer. He's a squealer. Not necessarily bad, but he's a talker.
No,
he gave up the goods.
Well, see, that's the way you're looking at it. I'm looking at it like he's working with them. Like, he's not a squealer. I think he's with them.
And that's why he's been absent for 22 episodes, since I think we last saw him in season 3 of episode 2.
Yeah, he's doing Cabal stuff. Whatever the Cabal needs. That's what he's doing.
So he switched in advance. He didn't just squeal and now just part of the Cabal.
That's my theory. My theory is he was already part of the Cabal. He was working with the Cabal or for them already. And now they need someone to hopefully force Dembe to talk. And so they throw him in the room. Because look at the difference in wounds. You got Dembe, who looks like his face just hit a meat grinder.
No doubt.
And then you got Vargas, who's like, my eye, it's got a little scratchy.
Oh, we're going to die in here.
I hope it doesn't get infected. This is so dangerous. Ow.
And if you remember, when we were introduced to Mr. Vargas for the very first time, it was during an episode where Red's network was starting to crumble, and people were wanting to turn on him. And we thought Vargas was kind of the ringleader of that, and there was the big switcheroo at the end, and he wasn't. But who's to say he was or wasn't,
That's what I'm asking. What?
I feel bad now, though, because we played the Pee-wee's Playhouse clip.
You wasted it. That's what you did. You wasted
it. I literally gave the spoiler without even knowing it was going to be a spoiler, because
whenever anybody says the magic word,
scream real loud. It's like, yeah, that's what he was doing in the other room.
Just so you know, I do an awful Pee Wee Herman impression.
Clearly.
Awful. I make Pee Wee sound like the devil. All right, speaking of the devil, Glenn. I love me some Glenn. His comments, I'm clean as a whistle, which is more than I could say for your shorts and some other ones. I was almost in tears, man.
I spit my iced tea all over the floor.
Almost in tears. This is a guy, and he's been there before. Is this a guy you definitely want to keep coming back to?
Oh, absolutely. 100%.
And he does make me think of what the people that actually work at the DMV are like. Like, secretly, this is what I picture as I'm waiting in line and getting really irritated. I'm like, you're all Glenn, all of you. So yeah, a lot of that. But he pieces together everything about Dembe being taken because he's a stealthy little spy, and also he steals laptops and breath mints.
You used little.
Oh, I didn't. Seriously, I did not mean that as an offense.
It's okay. I made the joke on Twitter because Red made the joke last season about, shrimp. Don't you see the irony in that?
I still didn't mean it, though. I didn't mean that.
No, I know you didn't mean it because I was the one that said, hey, make sure you take something off the top shelf.
Wow. That's awful. We're awful people. He's a wonderful addition, I think, to the
awesome.
show. He adds a lot of character. Yeah.
I love that he takes the breath mint soda and he drops him on the floor. He's like, screw it. I'm just getting out of here.
So what do you think is his... I mean, he works for the DMV. I mean, is that just a cover and he just happens to be good at this sort of thing or what?
Yeah, I think everybody has some kind of day job, doing whatever they do. In the case of Dembe, his day job is chauffeur and operator.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, it's just a cover. You got to put these people somewhere, otherwise they just be sitting in their mom's basements. This
is true. It does also bring up a point I wanted to make sure to mention. Connie, we talked about last week. Connie, when we talked about him last week, I totally forgot he was in another episode, and I didn't mention that. And man, you guys called us to the carpet quick, and I appreciate that because whenever we get something wrong, I definitely want to know about it. I don't want to, not spread. I don't want to spread misinformation or anything. But he was a return visitor. Wasn't the first time. I just totally forgot that he had been there.
Correct.
So my apologies for being wrong. But really, Troy didn't correct me, so it's really Troy's fault.
And I did the rewatch, so it's really all my bad.
Yeah.
I take full blame. Aaron is exonerated.
I completely blamed you anyway. It's all right.
Will you at least not give up my address now?
No, seriously, dude. I'm ratting you out. Like, I will give out bank account information. I don't even have it yet, but I'm going to get it just so I can give it. All right, Tom. Brings us to Tom. Oh, boy. Tom offers to help Ressler, and I respect Ressler because he stayed honorable. He didn't do what I expected him to do, which is work with Tom. But he does hang out in diners waiting for Liz to call, which apparently before, when Liz was dating somebody else and she was hooking up with Tom secretly, she would call at 7 p.m., basically?
Yep.
Is that what I'm getting? All right. I just want to point out that is super stretched. Super stretched. That is totally a plot device that was introduced just so we could, because I don't recall that ever coming up. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. If this has ever come up before, I don't remember it, but I'm sure if it has, maybe it did a long time ago. Do you remember this?
It may have been in one of their morning conversations over pancakes or something. Like, hey, remember that time in the restaurant?
It could have. Yeah, it
used
could
to
have.
Call me. It could have been like one of those quippy things that you just don't even pick up on. I don't remember it personally, but then again, I'll get called out on Facebook probably within a few days.
Definitely. It seemed a little stretched. So basically, Tom's plan is to hang out at this diner all the time?
Or at least at 7. This was the one part of the episode that after the second time watching it, I was like, wait, he's sitting there in the middle of the afternoon waiting for the phone to ring when he knows it's going to ring at 7? Like, or is he just like, he just doesn't like eating anywhere else? This is the only restaurant he has breakfast, lunch, and dinner at.
He's very punctual, Troy. He's just very punctual.
And I feel bad for the wait staff there, that lady, because if he's there in the afternoon, gives her his number, and then he comes back later for dinner around 7 expecting the phone to ring, and then she comes up and she's still working. I mean, that's a long shift.
It is. And I got to tell you, I'll be honest, she's kind of cute. I'd call her. Tom, things aren't working out so well with Liz. She's always traveling, And so I'd probably give her a call. You never know. Magic might happen.
So then Cooper has to go and mess it all up.
Yeah, Cooper is relegated to a desk, we found out, and that was kind of sad. And I still wish he would have taken the deal, but I understand why he didn't. And he has a great moment with Ressler where he admits he didn't do his job very well. Do you agree with him, or do you think he's just kind of the fall guy at this point?
I don't know if he said he didn't do his job really well. He said, I thought it was something more like I'll never admit it in public, but I was terrified I was making the wrong decisions.
Well, he said, I went with my gut and look where it got me kind of thing. Or I did the wrong thing and look where it got me, whatever. So, but this ultimately ends, this conversation between Ressler and Cooper ends up with Tom, because Cooper seeks Tom out, tells him he doesn't trust him, but he needs his help with the job, and the job has to do with Kirk. What do you think is going to happen?
I'm trying to figure this out. I don't understand why we're so fixated on Karakurt specifically. Like, what is it about Karakurt that's so interesting other than maybe getting to Vitsyn to get to the Cabal, right? Because Vitsyn got him into the country.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's probably more backstory to Karakurt and maybe what he did in Russia or maybe some of the other people he attacked.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that angle is how they start to unravel the Cabals from an FBI perspective.
Well, no, I mean, Karakurt's the connection to clear Liz.
Karakurt,
yeah, that is the doorway. If you want to get
in only one of the murders, though, in only the senator's murder.
No,
so
Karakurt would be
clear Liz.
It'll be the connection in the terrorist attack as well.
So 2 of the 3.
The terrorist, she's branded a terrorist, and I think Karakurt is the pathway to clear her of that attack.
Okay,
that's what I think.
But how did she get cleared from the AG shooting then?
Well, that's a totally separate issue. That's not connected to the terrorism. I think they can paint that as defending themselves, even if it wasn't self-defense. But the actual terrorist attack, I think Karakurt is the doorway to clear Liz from the terrorist attack.
Okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting. Geez, you'd think you'd be paying attention, Troy, man.
Well, it's like, he's on the run, right? He got let go, and I was like, well, then why isn't Gina important? Gina got let go too.
Because he was behind the terrorist attacks.
Right. Now that you put it that way, I get it now.
Jeez.
I thank you for teaching me and educating me this morning.
Well, what do you think? Do you think Tom and Cooper are going to make a good team? You think they're going to go lethal weapon style across the country and just Merton Riggs it up, or what?
It's funny that you said Merton Riggs, because that's what I thought when I was watching it. I was like, oh, that'd be awesome to watch these two go hand to hand together.
Mm-hmm. Cooper ain't too old for that. What?
Not at all. Especially now that he's healthy.
That'll be fun. Well, he was never sick.
He was never sick.
Poor guy.
Or is he healthy?
Oh, now he actually gets cancer. He's like, I don't believe you. Poor guy. No, seriously, dude, we did like several tests. I don't believe you. I'm good. Okay. All right. Oh, Ressler's still playing Deputy Gerard as he's on the ground and closing fast on Keene and Red. They did get to Iowa pretty quick. They pieced that together. Thank you, Aram. Good job. Nice work. But it becomes painfully obvious at the beginning of the episode, which I've said this all along, that he deeply cares for Liz and desperately wants to clear Liz's name. But he is going to do it by the book. I personally respect this. I am glad that we have a character that says, you know what? There are rules, and I'm going to stick to the rules. I'm going to do it the right way.
Do you like the fact that Tom was the one that was kind of like, I know you have feelings for my ex-wife?
Yeah, I mean...
Did it bother you that it was Tom that kind of called it out to the audience?
No, because I think Liz knows. I do think Liz knows. And I just wanted it out there to some degree and put in to the audience. So the audience is very clear that, yes, this is the case. It's not just a matter of he's trying to bring her down because he's bothered by what she did and everything. It's because he cares about her and he wants to help her and he thinks he can help her by bringing her in. Right. That's ultimately what it is. So really, it is Ressler saying, I maybe not love, but deeply care about Liz. Which, can you blame him? She is adorable. And a wonderful person, even though she doesn't believe she is.
Especially when she smiles.
Oh, man,
she smiled a lot in this episode.
She smiled a lot in this episode. I forgot how pretty she was, I'll be honest with you. And not to be superficial, but she does so much. I mean, she's had such a hard time for the last, 10 episodes, it feels like. Or a very long time. And it's been very dour and whatnot. So this is the first episode I've really seen her just glowing several times, especially when she's looking up at Red's buttocks. And the vent, but if you look at it the wrong way, it looks like she's staring at Red's butt.
The shippers are all like, yes!
She's looking at his butt. I'm like, it's a vent. She's looking at a vent. She is literally smiling at a vent. Just calm down. Calm down, people. But back to Ressler real quick. Do you like that they finally put that out there?
Yeah, no, it's totally fine. I think I won't say all. Mm-hmm. We assume that there's a relationship all the way back in season 1 when he basically takes her out for the birthday and gets the bottle of wine and there's something that's going to start up there. This is interesting. So I think it's great that they put it out there because then everybody can be like, okay, love triangle, let's go. Yeah,
because see, that's where I'm shipping. Some people are shipping like Liz and Red. I'm shipping Ressler and Liz. So it's basically Kiesler is what I'm calling it. Kiesler. I'm a Kiesler. That's what I am.
That was one of our first clamors, too, was are you Team Tom or Team Ressler? And people were like, Ressler, what? And it was pretty much 50-50.
Well, I'm Team Kiesler, is what I'm calling it, because I want
Yes,
Keen and Ressler. See what I did? I connected them like Bennifer style. All right, Liz. Oh, man. Liz loves to hotwire cars without the advent of GPS. That was a nice little touch.
Great line.
Nice little touch. She's also working.
I was trying to figure out if that was like twofold, right? One was, hey, she can only hijack cars that are before a certain time frame because that's all the skills she has, and it was a dig at Liz.
Mm-hmm.
Or if it was truly a, hey, my partner's smart because at least people can't track us through the GPS.
I kind of think that's what it was. I hope so, because he wasn't hotwiring anything, so he should just shut up.
On the second watch, it seemed more like he was putting a dig on Liz. Like, geez, you couldn't give me something a little classier to ride in?
I think he's someone who prefers the class, so maybe it was a dig. That's probably a more astute observation.
Yeah, first time I was like, yeah, clever to steal one that they can't track you in. Second time I was like, no, that was a total dig.
Well, she's thinking like the FBI. He's thinking like, man, I'm Red Reddington, son. I don't drive around in hoopties.
Well, let's be clear. It's like, when was the last time you actually saw an antenna on the outside of a vehicle? It's not built into the roof or the windshield. Like a standing antenna that they could use as a coat hanger.
My car. My car. So thanks for bringing it up.
No problem.
Also, she worked as Red's gunman, and she gets a lot of... We've had this, I think, in a couple episodes now, where she's slowly realizing her place in the world. And she says something, where she's scared. She's scared with this life. I mean, she's constantly looking over her shoulder. She's panicked. And Red tells her, this is the life, Lizzie, someone who's always one step behind. Do you like that they are trying to... It's not so much redeeming at this point, but they are definitely illustrating that she does still have a conscience. She is still conscious of, am I a good person? Am I a bad person? Where do I fit in the scope of things?
Yeah, she's trying to do the same internal struggle that maybe Raymond's doing on himself, right? He's been in this line of crime for so long, but he was supposedly, an admiral groomed for the future and on all the right paths and everything. So she's now literally having that same battle that Red probably had back in 1990 or 1994 whenever he turned to his life of crime.
Exactly. And a lot of people are saying that this is, they're getting her ready for when she goes back to the FBI, or some of the messages I've seen on Facebook. I still think she is heading down the path that Red went down. And I think she is being used as or not used, that's a wrong word. But her character is essentially the same character that Red was. His life was put into chaos, and he was led down this path. He didn't choose it. And I think that's what Liz's character at this point seems to be for me.
Right. It's literally a repetition of the entire sequence.
Mm-hmm.
And so for Red to basically figure out for himself, his redemption, he has to literally replay the moments, and he's replaying those moments of his life through Liz.
Yeah.
As this progresses.
I think there's some of that definitely in there. And she shoots a cop. So I guess before we get to the redemption thing, was shooting the cop, was he dirty? Or was he just being a cop?
She didn't know he was a cop. He was undercover.
Well, I know, but Red, alludes to the fact that, hey, tell whatever scumbag you're working for that he'll get his revenge later. And the guy doesn't correct him. He never identifies himself as a police officer. So I guess my question is, was he there in the capacity of law enforcement or as something else?
That's again, looking at it from two sides of your face, right? Because he could sit there and say, oh, he was calling somebody from the Cabal rather than calling the FBI, but then they literally switched to the FBI saying, hey, this tip came in. So this is one of those things where it's like, are you overanalyzing it because we can?
No.
Or should we take it on face value?
Did they say this tip came in? I don't think that's what they were talking about.
I thought it was.
Maybe? All right. Well, you guys listening, correct us. Sometimes we pay too much attention to detail and the little things get slipped by. But I don't think a tip came in. I thought that was going to be a tip, but it wasn't. You think it was a tip. Listeners, let us know. How's that? Boom. Either way, she still shot a cop. That's not good.
Yeah, I tweeted this week. That was my big tweet. It was something to the effect of Liz has bad luck with men.
She really does, man. She really does. Shoot him in the shooting arm. Nobody ever shoots in the arm because you're taught at Quantico and whatnot to shoot, in the chest because your habits die hard. A lot easier.
See, this is the part where people that didn't read the comic book are actually missing out on some stuff.
No, fill us in, comic book guy.
Because technically speaking, after Alan Fitch's death, the comic book starts, and Liz actually goes back to Quantico to finish her field training.
Mm-hmm.
So technically she isn't supposed to be armed because she hasn't finished that training. Because Red got her out of the training sooner, apparently, to get her into the FBI faster for the start of the show. And then she goes back to Quantico, again, still doesn't finish her training in the comic book, and then apparently gets cleared by Director Hackett or whatever through some anonymous tip. So now she is cleared to have a firearm, but she really hasn't completed her firearm training. So I like what you were saying about how this is really preparing her to come back to the FBI because she's going through her field training with Red.
Mm-hmm. Well, I didn't mean to say that, but that sounds cool. It makes me sound smarter. I like it.
Totally.
Was her calling Ressler a huge mistake?
A huge mistake? No. I think it's a way for her to reach out and say, look, we can have these conversations. Red and Ressler were talking back and forth a few times. So it's not like this is, I think the mistake she made was not letting Reddington know she was doing it. And that you can see Red kind of like, oh, God, I'm frustrated with you. Why did you do that? And I think that's the first time we've had a little spat between the two of them.
Do you think maybe it gave away that they were there, like he was on the right trail?
I think it helped.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. I'm like, why would you call? Because it basically says, yay, you're right. I'm here. I'm still here.
But I'm still here trying to clear my name, and you should help me.
Yeah, but it should be abundantly clear at this point he is going to do things by the book. So stop trying to make him not be the book.
He can still do things by the book, but I mean, that's exactly what they were doing all of season 1. Red would call in a tip. They would like, oh, I got this tip, so now I'm going to follow up on it and do it by the book.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same kind of thing. Like Liz could be calling in a tip, and then they would do things by the book. Just don't catch us. Let us stay one step ahead of you the whole time.
This is very interesting. I really like where they're going with her character. She's got a lot of stuff going on internally. Very, very interesting. And it ultimately all leads to Red. The Muggs Picasso story about the fence who failed to end up stealing a painting and was killed by the loan shark. What did this little Red lesson time teach us?
Oh, you're stealing my Red's rhetoric again.
No, you'll be playing it later, but what did you learn from it?
Basically that, when you think things are what they are, I honestly think it maybe have been a lesson to the audience, because he said he wouldn't want to steal a Picasso because it was bad luck. In the fact that he looks at and it is like the best Picasso, one of 12 prints,
mm-hmm.
and he doesn't steal it because it ended up being tagged or whatever, and it would have been traced and everything. So I think when you look at things at face value, no matter how beautiful they may be, it is just that. It's what it's what you go back to your root cause. If you go back to your beliefs, stick with your beliefs because your beliefs will always serve you the right way.
I like that. I can buy that. I don't really have any disagreement. I was just kind of curious what you got from it, other than a really cool story where the guy died.
Right.
Very sad.
Unfortunately.
So ugly that he looks like a Picasso because his face was all over the place.
And I was like, great, there we got 80s again. He's borrowing from Sloth.
I love it. Hey, you guy. I love seeing Red as a criminal doing the deeds instead of just CEO of Crime International. Although I got to be honest, I don't think the old blow the dirt on the keypad trick actually works as well as it seems to work. But I get the gist of it. The oil of your fingers would stay on the keys. I thought it was a nice touch, but I'm sitting there going, I don't think that would work, man.
Yeah, the sand I thought was a little bit of a stretch. A finer powder probably would have done the trick. But the sand, I think, is a little bit of a stretch.
Or sand, not dirt. Sorry, yeah, sand.
Or whatever.
Yeah, but I definitely, like the next keypad I find, I promise you I will be trying this.
But me being a math guy, I was like, did he get that right? 24 combinations? Yep, he's right. 24 combinations.
Yeah, what would it be? 4 times, how would that work?
I forgot how to do the math. I actually wrote them all out.
Did you really?
Well, I wrote the first set of sequences starting, with the number 1. And I was like, okay, when I got to that, I was like, okay, that's 6 possible ways. So 6 times 4 is 24. Yep. Good.
You need help, Troy.
I did.
Really do. You need help.
Wapner's on at 5.
You need some nice therapy. It would probably suit you wonders.
Definitely.
Okay, we also learned he learns that Dembe got took. So is it time for Red to Liam Neeson up?
Absolutely.
Do you think it's going to happen?
I think he's going to send in Mr. Kaplan. I think this is when we get to see Mr. Kaplan. Mr. Kaplan's going to come save Dembe.
Really?
Because he can't risk being exposed to Mr. Solomon. I mean, it'd literally be like, what is it? Into the mouth of the lion kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this is where Mr. Kaplan suits up and Mr. Kaplan takes care of it with maybe a few other compadres.
You really think Kaplan's going to be, you don't think Red's going to go in guns blazing?
Well, I mean, remember that Mr. Kaplan had like that sure marksmanship when Red was laying in the hospital bed. So I think Kaplan could take care of it if she needed to. But remember, she doesn't like all that blood stuff and the killing. That's what Red does, and then she just cleans up. So maybe she helps set up the sting, and then everybody else goes in with the sting and saves them.
She could take Glenn with her, and he can get all the low angles. What?
Exactly.
Yeah, that just happened.
Exactly.
I'm a shameful human being. I don't know about that one. I kind of think Red's going to get involved, but I guess he'd have to come back to wherever Dembe, because Solomon, I assume, is in Washington, or where was Dembe at?
That's a good question. Yeah, we don't know if he was actually in town. But Glenn was able to find him, so you would have to assume that they're in Virginia somewhere, or Maryland, or Baltimore.
Yeah, somewhere in that
close enough
area.
to the D.C. area.
Yeah, that's a good call. Good call. So I think he's definitely in that area, and you're right. You're probably right, because I don't think Red could go back to Washington. But that would keep him in the States, keep him from going afar, right?
And he could still run the operation without actually having to be there to go guns blazing himself. But then you go back to what Daniel said about James Spader taking care of Dembe's character and like Red in his relationship with Dembe.
Mm-hmm.
I think that Red might jeopardize that because you go back to what Marvin Gerard said last week. It's like, oh, you're the person he threw away his freedom for. So would he actually throw away his freedom for Dembe?
Well, I think they were setting that up to let you know that, yeah, there are two people in the world he seems to will do anything for, and Dembe's one of them. And I definitely think you're going to see something. It's going to have to happen soon, because if it doesn't happen in the next episode or two, there's no way Dembe can live, right? I mean, otherwise, you're really stretching that plot if you keep him alive after so long.
Right.
So I see something happening soon. I don't know when that turn's going to come. Is that going to come up in the next episode? But it's got to come up in the next one or two. It's got to. Man, I think that's really about. Is there anything else from this episode you want to talk about?
The specific quote that Red shares as they're talking about Verdiant and how everything breaks down in the farmers and the company taking away the farmers' land and their ability to sell their stuff. He says this quote: "When people feel their homes and livelihood are threatened, violence is never too far behind."
Mm-hmm.
Was that him specifically talking about how he got into what he's getting into originally?
Absolutely. I totally think he was speaking from personal experience. Yes.
Yeah. Great quote.
Yeah.
Love that. Did they put that in there?
Yeah. We're getting little tidbits as we go, little nuggets of Red, and we're getting a little bit more of the character, and I think we're learning some stuff.
These are the things when people say, "Oh, they never gave me any answers." Yes, they did. You just weren't paying attention.
Oh, is this from like one of your Lost things?
You said Lost. I didn't.
You wanted to. You inferred it. The Liz storyline is really piquing my interest. I'm really curious because they are really building her up, and I firmly believe a Red capacity. And I know a lot of people think they're leading her toward redemption, which is why we have that question. Is Liz past the point of redemption? And I'm curious where they go, because I really think they're leading her down a Red path. I think she's gonna slowly become Red. That's about it for this episode. Remember to be sure to download the Blacklist Exposed app for iOS and Android, and be sure to go even deeper into the mystery of Red Reddington by visiting our partner Blacklist sites, theblacklistnbc.com, that's theblacklistnbc.com, as well as see the weekly post for Clearing the Red Tape.
And last week we asked you for some reviews in iTunes, and hey, guess what? We got a few.
Yay!
From Russia with Love. We got one here. It says, from Galia DW from Russia. Kudos. Great job, agents. You have a Russian fan, guys. That's awesome.
Thank you, comrade.
Kind of weird getting one from Russia for the Blacklist. That's weird.
Is it Putin?
And then we have one from Arun Sark from the USA. I was listening to another Blacklist podcast, and you guys converted me within the first episode. I heard you back on Season 2, Episode 1. You guys really get into the episode rather than goofing around. I look forward to you and your ongoing analysis of the show. You guys are insightful and entertaining. You guys are awesome. Keep it up.
Wow.
Well, then I feel bad if he listens to this one since we're goofing around a little bit.
We converted him.
Love it.
I think what he's saying, because I've listened to a couple too, and I don't like to poo-poo any other podcast, but I get what he's saying. Like, there's one or two where you get about 20 minutes of, so I had breakfast. And that's, who wants to hear that?
I hear you there.
Who wants to hear that?
We definitely thank you guys, though, for writing those in. Great 5 stars there. And if you want to do a review of your own and let us know you're out there, you can go ahead and do that right now. Just pause it in your iTunes podcast app player if you're listening there, and go ahead and type it out and come on back. Or if even better, we do have that app, as Aaron mentioned. If you can go on to the Google Play Store and leave us a review on the app on the Google Play Store, that'd be great as well.
Yeah, and guys, I know some people don't realize it, but the reviews actually really help the podcast get out there. The more reviews you leave, the more notices it takes, and it helps in iTunes and Google, both. So it helps in our placing, so to speak, so people find it. So thanks for that. We really appreciate it. And now let's see what stories Red has to tell with this week's Red's Rhetoric.
Well, clearly there was no doubt that Red Home was going to be the winner last week. I think that was a pretty much foregone conclusion. So let's just jump right into it this week. The first one comes, as we've already mentioned, as Red and Liz are talking about Muggs Picasso.
Have you ever heard of Muggs Kalinowski? Lovely guy. Ugliest man I ever laid eyes on. That's why everyone called him Muggs. Except his dear mother, who was an art professor at Bard, lovingly referred to him as Picasso.
That's kind of sweet, actually.
Well, it was an apt nickname. His face was all over the place. But perhaps as a result of that nickname, Muggs grew up with a great appreciation for art. He fenced some of the most extravagant pieces in the world. He only had one rule. Out of respect for dear Mom, he'd never lift a Picasso. Felt it was bad luck. Then one day, he got a tip from a source about a piece sitting in a huge loft in Soho. So one evening, Muggs shimmied up the drain pipe, broke in, and lo and behold, there, hung on the wall, lay Femme d'Alger. A spectacular Picasso. One of a series of 15 and astronomically valuable.
Did he take it?
No. And Muggs was convinced that was the single biggest stroke of bad luck he'd ever suffered. Well, what he didn't know was the source who'd given him the tip was working with the feds. The painting had a tracking device in it. Sometimes bad luck is the best luck you'll ever have.
The second one comes at the end of the episode when Red is talking to the CTO of Verdiant.
Why would we do that? Why destroy our own product?
Perhaps you were willing to create this disease because you already possessed the cure. It's ingenious. Hire a madman to unleash a catastrophic threat and then wait just long enough for the world to panic.
Why would we do that?
For the money, Susan. So you and your company could come rushing in with a new product at the perfect time, a seed immune to the devastating scourge, and available, of course, at a much higher price.
You can't prove that.
Oh, but I can. I know about the Genesis Project. By now, so do the FBI. At the risk of sounding immodest, I'm on their most wanted list, number 1 with a bullet. They came here looking for me. Unfortunately for you, what they found were dozens of internal Verdiant documents which will lead them to your warehouse in Silver Ridge, and I don't need to tell you what they'll find inside. A stockpile of new seed waiting to be sold to a desperate world on the verge of calamity. You would have made a fortune and looked like heroes in the process.
I knew Matchett was a mistake.
Never met the man. Wouldn't judge him too harshly, though. He seized his chance to terrify the world, shine one glorious spotlight on the dangers of planting the same seed in fields all over the globe. Progress. It's a bitch.
That's our 2 this week. The first one, #RedMugs, if you always trust your gut, or #RedProgress, if you are always on the edge of calamity. Again, make sure you leave your vote in the Facebook group. That's the Blacklist Exposed. Just search for it there. Let us know with the hashtags on Twitter, or once we have the clamors up, go ahead and push the thumbs up button on Clamor to leave your vote. Again, #RedMugs or #RedProgress for this week.
My pick wasn't even on there because I totally would go with the Kurt Russell moment where he's like, "Tell him I'm coming, and hell's coming with me."
Oh, that would have been awesome.
I was really hoping. As soon as he said, "Tell him I'm coming," I'm like, "Do it, do it, do it." He did.
I chopped it out for time. I chopped it out for time. I was going to do the whole thing, but it was like 2.5 minutes.
That's all right. I just did it for you. I did a nice representation of Jane Spader for you as Kurt Russell. Yeah,
as Kurt Russell.
You're welcome.
Escape from New York, which is funny because they live in New York, or they shoot in New York.
It's Tombstone, man. Tombstone is what I was referencing. Tombstone.
I know.
Do you? Do you, though?
Do you, huh?
Do you, punk? All right, Special Agent Intel. Jeremy from Melbourne, Australia. Good day. This turnaround is an amazing shakeup of the show and is a great way of freshening up relationship situations to make things interesting. I'm putting it in the same, in my opinion, favorable category as the 5 years later episode of Heroes.
Jeremy, you are my new best friend.
Oh, Lord, Jeremy. Jeremy spoken. Both episodes 1 and 2 of this new season have been such adrenaline-filled masterpieces. I suspect in the future they may even be used to add therapy for people trying to get off addictions to stimulant drugs.
Wow.
Okay, so that's an exaggeration. But this show is on a wild and must-see ride and had turned into a real must-watch show each week. Thanks for the great podcast, and I have forwarded this feedback via a link in your new nifty Android app. Cheers and good day, Jeremy.
Wow, thanks so much, Jeremy, for using the app. Appreciate it. Good stuff.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Neil said, why does Mr. Solomon need Dembe to find Reddington when it would be easier just to keep tabs on Ressler? I also love that they brought Tom in at the end to find Kirk. Good use of his skills.
That's a good point. So why keep Dembe, like you were saying, if they could just, follow Ressler and see where Ressler's going and follow the breadcrumbs?
I don't know. You know what? This is, as an evil mastermind that I am, what I would do is probably just go get his granddaughter again and say, all right, we're going to go one finger at a time, Chief. I'll bet you they get whatever they need really quick.
Yeah, they would.
It sounds horrible. Please don't write me. I'm just saying, if I was an evil mastermind, which I am not, obviously. Shannon said, it was nice to see Liz save Red a few times this episode instead of staring out the window the entire time. Okay. It's kind of a good point.
Good point, indeed.
Good point. John was upset that Red lost his pimped-out shipping container. Me too,
I am kind of too.
Yeah, I would totally, man. I would ride around the country in that thing, no problem. He probably has cable, too, or at least DirecTV. Terry is so thrilled Tom is back. As his own man doing his own thing, he is unique and interesting enough to remain a permanent player on the show. I feel like you're writing that just for me, Terry. I must say that they are doing really well mixing all the players in. Still waiting for some Mr. Kaplan love, though I can't get enough of her. She should get her own spinoff.
I agree 100%.
With Glenn.
Like Murder, She Wrote.
Kaplan and Glenn.
With Glenn.
Sophie loves seeing Glenn again and how awesome he was this episode. Love seeing Liz smile when Red talked about the Mugs Picasso story. She does, man. I was like, aww. My heart went aflutter. Tom working with Cooper. Love it. Have to say a nitpick, though. How much wheel turning does one need to go on to do on a straight road, Ressler? The fake driving looked a bit funny. Oh, and the tie outside his Kevlar after fighting with Eli. Classic. I love when people notice stuff like that. Love the episode. Red and Liz on the run, the team chasing them down. It's a great way to keep all the characters involved and get everyone more screen time. I enjoy the new setup. Looking forward to the podcast. That is so true. I went back and watched it. The fake driving was kind of bad.
Yeah, it wasn't so much that he was doing the swerving with his hands to keep the vehicle straight. It was when he actually does the hard right to spin around after he gets the tip called in.
Yeah.
And the tire squeal and the hard right comes and the video of the background doesn't turn as fast as he's making it look like he's turning.
Yeah, he's very dramatic. Dago was channeling that car. That's what he was doing. Suzanne said, was I the only one worried that Vargas was there? Nope. What if he was working for the Cabal? His statement at the end seemed so dire. We're going to die in here. John agreed with Suzanne, wondering if Vargas was a plant.
Yeah, we already touched on that earlier.
Absolutely.
So, absolutely agree.
And I'll be honest, that's the first thing I thought was he's a plant. So,
because he was in the other room.
Yep. If you don't see it, it didn't happen.
Yep. Torture him in front of the other person, different story. Torture him in another place. Yeah, I learned that from Scandal, if nothing else.
Right.
Back in season, was that season 3, right? 4? I forget which season we're on.
Scandal? I don't know. I stopped after season 1. You got rid of Henry Ian Cusick. I'm done, man.
That's right. Anytime you get rid of Desmond, man, I'm over.
I'm done. From Twitter, Chili, Cynthia, and Ilary. I hope I said those right.
Larry.
No,
Something.
that sounds like Larry. It's Ilary, I think. I don't know. Please let us know because I don't want to offend you. Are not on the fans of the Tom train. Chili said, uncertain of Tom, but can't wait to see him on his mission. Cynthia said, okay, mission yes, romance with Liz no. I'm with you. Yeah. Finish the mission and fly away. To which Hillary agreed with. All right. I love all of you. You guys are my posse. If I had a posse, which I don't. But we're going to start one. Sonia said Glenn was the most useful secondary character on this episode. You can clearly tell the powers that be clearly love him. He never has a forgettable scene, but so far Cooper is shaping up to be my favorite character.
That's interesting because Cooper really hasn't done much. So to have him shape up so quickly to be, the favorite character, I think that means that he's saying and doing a lot in just a little bit, which is really what he's been doing pretty much the whole show, right? He doesn't have a lot of big plays, but when he does, it's powerful.
Or maybe she just likes the way he sits at that desk. Very great posture. Posture creates character. You know what I mean?
Clearly, that's a good call.
Crystal said, I don't think the powers that be. They are slighting Liz in order to build up Tom. In fact, it is just the opposite. Tom waiting and expecting Liz to be like they used to be. But if Liz talks to Tom, it will be for her to use him for her purposes. Their relationship was built on a foundation of lies. Lies, a throne of lies. And Liz has evolved past Tom. Now she is stronger on her own. Every episode she is growing stronger, more confident, and sure of herself. She is finally standing up for herself and fighting back.
I like it. Yeah, I do. I don't want Liz and Tom back together either.
Yes.
I want Tom to pine for Liz so that Tom does cool kick-ass missions and beats up people and blows stuff up.
Mm-hmm.
But they can't get back together in the end. Crushes hopes and dreams.
Ultimately, he'll sacrifice himself to save Liz, and then she and Ressler can hook up and have happy, gorgeous babies.
Aaron also put out an undercover assignment this week to come up with your craziest off-the-wall blacklist theory, something no one has ever thought about or heard about before. And once again, special agents, you've come through in droves.
Dawn said the AG is not dead. He looked pretty dead, but I like that theory.
There was a body bag. We just didn't see him in the body bag.
That's true. Maybe they cut to him at the end of this season and the body bag just starts moving around, and we find out zombies. Zombies. The Walking Dead invaded the blacklist.
No more zombies.
Bill said POTUS is blacklister number 1 and probably Lizzie's dad. Whoa, snap. The president.
That's interesting.
The president is Lizzie's dad?
Would that be a nice twist?
I like that one.
Especially because they brought up the fact that the president and the director in that one scene in season 2.
Would also explain why the president said no deal, huh? Yeah. Brenda said Red's daughter Jennifer will show up as the big bad behind it all. I like that one.
Vengeance for Daddy being away so long when he was on his work trips.
I'm telling you, man, that burns kids. That hurts them.
It does.
Neil said Troy writes for the blacklist. That would be my pick. Yeah. Because you have dumb theories.
I also have an NDA.
That's true. Suzanne said Lizzie is actually in a mental ward and the show characters are based on the hospital staff. That better not be. It better not be Sucker Punch, man.
Yeah, no Dallas. No Dallas.
No. Sharon said Gina Zany Tacos is Liz's half sister.
That'd be kind of fun, actually.
I could see that. I could absolutely see that.
We could braid each other's hairs, clean each other's guns.
Oh man, if you guys have heard any other crazy theories and legitimate ones, don't trying to make it too crazy. But if you heard some legitimate crazy theories, I'd love to hear them. I love this stuff. So send them in. Send them into the blacklist.
So much fun.
That's going to conclude this episode. Be sure to follow us on Twitter this season at the Blacklist GSM. We're going to be live tweeting during the East Coast feed, and we will use the show's hashtag, The Blacklist. We also have a Facebook group. Just search for The Blacklist Exposed and join us for the fun.
Intel from you is what we want, and we love getting it in droves like you guys have come through this season 3. And we have a few ways you can submit it here into the agency. Interact with us on Tumblr, Instagram, Clamor, or as always, visit theblacklistexposed.com. Or you can call us via your smartphone and send us a message through that send voicemail button.
You can also subscribe to the podcast in iTunes and listen from the website. But if you are really on the go, like Red and Liz and us, we're always on the run. We're on the run. Make sure you download our app for iOS and Android powered by Spreaker. You will also find all the intel and analysis about this episode for Eli Matchett by visiting theblacklistexposed.com. A big thanks for listening, and don't forget our profiling question of the week. Has Liz passed the point of redemption?
Until next time, I'm Agent Troy Heinritz. That's at Troy Heinritz on Twitter. And if you want to learn more about me, just visit, about.me/Troy Heinritz.
And I'm Agent Aaron Peterson. You can hear me talking about movies and TV on the Hollywood Outsider podcast, as well as Remake This Movie Right. We are available at thehollywoodoutsiders.com or on Twitter at H_outsider. Be sure to subscribe, download the app, submit your feedback, but most importantly, keep yourself off of the Blacklist.
The Blacklist Exposed is a Golden Spiral Media production, copyright 2015. Find more of our great podcasts at goldenspiralmedia.com/podcasts.